Hello, my name is George Grant, and I'm a GGS Pro Technical Specialist with Griffin. Today we're going to be going over some tips and tricks for diagnosing plant problems virtually. This could be applied for using things via phone, computer, or other virtual platforms that we use in our day-to-day basis. The reality with the green industry is that things happen quickly. Depending on how the environment changes, or if a pest and disease outbreak occurs, our plant material can quickly lose in its overall quality. Also, another reality is when we try to take a sample to be sent to a consultant, a technical specialist, or a university diagnostic lab, it does take some time for that plant material to actually get there. By that time, the problem might have already exponentially got worse, or even during transit, that sample may have actually melted in the bag, as you can see here. For these various reasons, more and more growers are reaching out to technical consultants, specialists, and even university professionals virtually to try to reduce the amount of time that it takes to actually get a solution and a recommendation implemented into your operation. Reducing the amount of time it takes to get a solution prevents losses and saves you money. Also, another benefit to virtual diagnosis is a record keeping. Anything that's basically taken via your phone or email can be easily recorded or saved and then referenced in the future. Using some tricks that we're going to be discussing in this presentation, we can combine clear communication, clear photos, and various questions to get to the root of what's going on in your operation. Being a GGS Pro technical specialist, we do this on a daily basis. Easily over 90% of the communication we have with growers is through some sort of virtual format. Over the years, we've developed some strategies that we believe are effective at efficiently and accurately determining issues, even through a virtual format. When we're categorizing an issue, we can easily put these into two categories, either an abiotic or biotic issue. An abiotic issue, as it sounds, is anything caused by a non-living factor. This could be something related to nutrition, the cultural or environmental setting the plant's being grown in, or some sort of pollutant that's either inside or outside of the growing environment. Biotic would be the opposite. These would be things that are actually caused by a living organism. This could be fungal, bacterial-based pathogens, insect and mites, and sometimes even rodents. It's also important to understand what primary and secondary issues are. As it sounds, primary issues are the primary cause of an issue, and then at times primary issues can then lead to secondary issues. We'll give you an example here. This is a poinsettia liner that's been rooted. Upon further investigation, it could see that the plant never rooted out after being transplanted. The reason for this is that we have Pythium root rot. But upon further investigation, we can actually see that there's actual fungus gnat larvae predating on the plant roots. The fungus gnat larvae gnawing on the roots have exposed the roots to a disease infection. The disease is then taken over the plant. So in this situation, the fungus gnat larva is actually the primary issue, and the Pythium is the secondary issue. It's important for growers to fully understand what is going on when they identify an issue, so we can both prioritize how to fix the secondary and the primary issue. If we're only taking care of the secondary issue, then the primary issue, which is actually the foundational issue, will continue to affect the crop in a negative way. The various different issues that we run into in production can range in complexity quite a bit. As a grower and as a scout, it's important to be programming your brain to be asking various questions when you come upon a problem. Some of these questions, as you can see here, have to relate holistically to how we're actually producing the plant. So where are the issues occurring? What have I been feeding the plant, or what inputs have I been actually providing the plant? What's the environmental conditions it's being grown in? And based on historical data and personal experience, what are some red flags that might be coming to mind when you see this? Ultimately, as a technical specialist, I'm thinking about these sort of things in my line of questioning, along with the type of photos that I'm asking for when I'm communicating with the grower. Photos can be a very effective way to diagnose an issue quickly. However, you'd be surprised how difficult it can be to take an actual high quality photo that provides the information that we're looking for. Next, we're going to be going over a few qualities of what entails a high quality and a low quality photo as it relates to plant diagnosis.
This is an example of relatively poor quality photo. We'll first go into why this is relatively limited in the amount of information it provides us, and then we'll actually diagnose the issue. Surprisingly, this sort of scenario happens quite a bit. We commonly do receive photos of singular or multiple foliage that have been taken directly off the symptomatic plant. Now, the reason why this is relatively not valuable is because of the lack of information it provides us. Ideally, we want to see a whole plant photo. From here, with this situation, we don't know exactly where this came from. We don't know if it's old growth, new growth, where the plant was grown, either outside, in a greenhouse, under a hoop house, with shade, without shade. We really don't know how uniform the issue is. Is it affecting all the crops on the bench, neighboring crops, other species, etc.? So upon that, we did actually request another photo. In this case, we actually requested to see if they had a yellow sticky card. In this case, they were using a blue sticky card. Blue sticky cards are very good at attracting things like thrips. In this situation, based on the amount of high population of thrips we found on the blue sticky card, we can equate that odds are we're having some thrip damage on this foliage. We can even see, by looking closely at this photo, we can see that the kind of rasping mouth part of the thrip causes this damage, as well as leaves us some kind of black particulate matter, or what we call frass, on the foliage.
This is a slightly better scenario where we have the new growth, the old growth, and even some blooms. Unfortunately, we don't have a root system, and we don't see other plants nearby, so we don't know how uniform or widespread this issue is, and we don't know if it's affecting other crops. Well, let's take what we know about petunias. Petunias are what we call acid-loving plants. They like to be grown in soil pHs that are relatively low. As soil pHs rises or gets more basic, micronutrients such as iron become less available to the plant. Because of this, we start to see iron deficiency in the new growth. Magnesium deficiency, as we saw previously, is something called a mobile nutrient. What happens is as the plant becomes deficient in that nutrient, it actually takes it from the old growth and puts it into the new growth. Iron is not this way. It is what we call an immobile nutrient. What happens is when the plant becomes deficient in iron, it can't take old iron in the old growth and move it to the new growth. That's why we start to see the deficiency first in the new growth. In this situation, this is a very extreme case of iron deficiency. How can we fix this? Well, there's several ways. One, we can lower the soil pH, which is the primary issue. We can also add iron through a chelated iron product, as through a one-time drench application, or we can start to feed with a fertilizer that has a higher percentage of iron in it.
This would be the best situation thus far. Primary reason for that is that we have multiple photos to go off on. Typically, one photo may not show us everything we need to see, and may not also show the smoking gun. In this situation, we have a photo on the left that clearly shows the visual symptom, which appears to be this kind of bleaching chlorosis of a geranium. And then on the right, we can actually see more of a zoomed out production photo of where the plant's being grown and what's being grown near it. We have some hanging baskets above the geranium crop, and the geraniums are being grown on a bench with a heater that's directly over it. We can see that the symptom is actually grouped uniformly on a section of the bench, whereas the sides of the benches are not showing the symptom. Using this information, we can see that the heater is directly in line where the symptoms are occurring. Thus, we can most likely guess that having direct heat over the specific section of the crop is causing this bleaching of the foliage. Our recommendation here would be to move the geranium crop out of the line of the heater, as well as consider troubleshooting the heater to make sure that no ethylene or other pollutants are coming out of the heater.
Thank you for your time today. We hope you left this video feeling a little bit more confident when diagnosing or helping train your employees on how to diagnose issues. As you can see, it's not as easy as it seems, especially when it comes to more complex issues. But please note that GGS Pro is here to help you in any way we can, and feel free to reach out to us through your local sales rep or using the contact information listed on the slide. Thank you.